What's up, guys? It's G here, and welcome back to the Grizzly Life podcast. In this episode, we will be having a Q&A, diving into the topics you guys wanted more insight on. New episodes drop every Tuesday and Thursday, so make sure to subscribe, follow, and turn on notifications. Now let's get into episode 8 of the Grizzly Life podcast.
Yo guys, what's going on? It's Colton here on this fine Sunday afternoon again. I believe it's the 23rd of March. I didn't check before, so I could be right, I could be wrong, but happy to have you guys here. I'd like to start this episode off with a fun fact. It is officially episode 8 of many, and the cool statistic there is that the average podcast does not make it past episode 7. So that is a cool thing that we've accomplished here. And again, this is all practice for us. We're just trying to get in our groove, get in our flow. So I appreciate the people who are listening to us now. We're just hoping to get as much quality content out there as we can, kind of find our flow and our jive, and just kind of get this conversation thing down. We will be launching like a video aspect to this podcast soon. We're just trying to find the right place to do it, kind of the right setup and that kind of stuff. So stay with us. We'll be getting to that. Once we get to that point, I've been kind of saving our interview episodes with our day ones, our staff, our, family and friends and that kind of stuff. I've been saving those episodes for the video because I think that will be cooler to look back on 5, 10, 20 years from now. And I just think it'll give you a different insight on kind of the interaction and I think there'll be a lot of funny stories, a lot of laughs, a lot of smiles. So that's the direction I want to go with that. So that is why we've been holding off there. It is one of my more immediate goals in the next couple weeks to get video set up, and so we can start doing that as well. That'll be a whole nother thing we've got to overcome. We've been trying to get comfortable talking to the mic. That's one thing. This is our first time doing this. It's episode 8. We don't practice this outside of these episodes. So the video aspect will be a whole nother thing, talking in front of a camera, even though we're not necessarily going to be live, figuring that out and just practicing. So appreciate you listeners here. Our day ones we're calling you, so thank you for that. Today's episode is just me and G. We got G in the producer chair and myself, Colton, here. We're going to kind of, again, figure out the flow of this today. We're going to go back and forth. He's got some questions he's kind of pulled aside from just some people talking to myself, to Chase, to G. So we're going to go over some of those questions today as well. So is there anything else I want to... No, G, what do you got?
Yeah, before we get started, just tell a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, that's right. I want to get in the groove of this. I'm trying to, if somebody listens to this episode for the first, this is the first time they're tuning in to listen to our episode. They haven't maybe listened to episodes 1 through 7, which I strongly recommend. If this is your first time tuning in, go back and listen to the story. Hear a little bit more about us so you can understand. We do make a lot of references back to the earlier episodes. Episodes 1 through 4 is our history, but something I want to try to include in some of these intros is a brief credibility statement. It's not for me to brag or throw this out there. I just want to let our new listeners know kind of a very brief background of what we've done and what we've accomplished. So that being said, my name's Colton Burt. I'm 26 years old. I own 6 gym locations. I am partners on one of them with Jacob Colburn from Oshkosh. So we own 5 locations called Grizzly Fitness, and location number 6 is called Grizzly O-Town. We also own a company called Priority Fitness. And Priority Fitness is a fitness equipment installer and service-based company for fitness equipment. We travel to Wisconsin, maybe a little bit of the Midwest. We do gym installs, gym extractions, gym moves, service gym equipment. We sell used equipment, some new product. That's what our other company does. And then with all of that, we also own a couple pieces of real estate. 3 of our gym locations are in properties that we own. And then we also own a 4th property that is just kind of sitting there right now, which will be a future business idea as well. So that's a brief background for those of you tuning in today if this is your first episode with us. So you've kind of got a little bit there. So I'll throw it back to G. What do you got?
All right, first thing we're going to get into today is an outlook for the week. What are your goals personally, business-wise, for the week?
Sure. Yeah, this is a good point. This is something we want to start bringing up in our episodes, is just kind of have a conversation here. So this week, some things that we would like to accomplish, or maybe some things that some of our businesses are doing. I believe Tuesday and Thursday this week, our priority team has got 2 major installs. I believe 2 of our biggest installs of the year yet, which is great. Business is picking up a little bit. Tuesday, we're going to be at the Packers Athletic Club. There's a new athletic club opening in Titletown. It's called the Packers AC, or the Packers Athletic Club. From the equipment that we're installing, it seems like it's going to be a pretty badass place. We're installing some very high-end cardio equipment that we've actually never seen before in the state of Wisconsin, so that's pretty cool. It's a newer line by Matrix. It'll be super high-end. So our whole priority team will be there on Tuesday. I'm sure there'll be some important people there as well from Matrix kind of watching over to make sure the install goes perfect. I will personally be driving forklift all day Tuesday. We've got a semi and a half of brand new cardio equipment going to meet us on site. So that'll be cool and exciting. Thursday, Priority Fitness is going all the way up to Park Falls. That is about 3.5 hours north of where we're located. They are getting a brand new YMCA, which is cool. So we're actually going to be sending a couple trucks up there. And what's funny is our family cabin is actually up there like 20, 30 minutes down the road, and there's really no fitness centers up there. So it's kind of cool that they're getting one. But so most of the priority team will go up there Thursday, maybe leave at like 5, 6 a.m., do the install all day. We'll hang out there Thursday night, stay at the cabin, come home Friday. So that's kind of what the priority team's doing this week. I know Monday I've got a team meeting in Oshkosh we're doing at Grizzly O-Town there, and I know Wednesday we're doing our second virtual meeting for our leadership staff, for our staff for Grizzly Fitness too. So that's some bigger stuff on the plate this week. I'm trying to think if there's anything I want to accomplish. I've got to stick with my reading goals, stick with my walking goals. I'm hoping to finish another book this week, looking to get workouts in every day of the week. And I actually started this new thing. I downloaded an app for Word of the Day, so I've been kind of trying to learn some new vocab. Not that I want to try to sound smarter or come off that way. I just want to try to broaden my knowledge. So I actually started Word of the Day, so hopefully I can kind of stick with that this week and see how that goes. So I think that is a brief wrap on kind of what this week holds. A lot of kind of running around and getting some stuff done, but yeah, what do you got?
Awesome. Good stuff. Now we'll be getting into the Q&A. These questions might be all over the place, but they are questions that some of the listeners have been asking and wanting to get more explanation on. So the first question, what is it like working with family and friends?
Fair question. So I feel like when I first got into business, a lot of people their first concern, or, one of the first things they would say was, be careful with who you work with, right? Be careful with your friends and family. It's hard. It's difficult. It never works. You lose friendships, you lose family, all that kind of stuff, which, maybe that's true, but business is tough. I know Kyle and I are best friends growing up throughout high school. Me and him were kind of in this business together to start off, and it wasn't easy in the beginning. It was very difficult for us. But it's difficult from a sense of being 2 19-year-old kids trying to figure out life and how to grow up and, all that stuff, the testosterone, whatever 19-year-old kids got going on. I mean, it's not really an ideal time we don't know anything about business, we don't, so that in itself was difficult, but we've made it through and we're extremely good friends still. And so, everybody says don't work with friends and family, or be careful with what friends and family you get into business with. But I look at it like, who would I want to be spending my time with every day? My friends and my family. Not that I'm opposed to meeting new people and outsourcing, having employees who aren't my friends and family, because we do have those as well. But even the people outside of my friends and family who work with us, they kind of become part of my friends and family, right? Like I care about them deeply. I want to make sure they succeed in their own goals. I want to see them strive to be the best versions of themselves, as we've kind of talked about here already. So I would suggest to anybody who wants to get in business, like, figure out how to work with your best friend, your best, you're the closest to whoever you are closest to in your family. Like, those are the people you already rely on. Those are the people you already have good conversations with. Hopefully those are the people who are already giving you honest feedback. And I think that's what you need in business. Like, you don't need people who just say yes, 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 which sometimes that's a good thing or a bad thing in itself. But having your close friends and family to rely on, the people who are going to be willing to be there for you when you need them and that kind of stuff, I think is very valuable. Now, you have to be careful not to take advantage of those relationships either. I think it's very easy to cross a line when it comes to friends and family. asking too much or expecting too much. But if everybody's on the same page and has the same vision, and you guys there's good, clear conversations of where we're heading and why we're going this direction. I mean, I think friends and family is in my opinion, it's great if you can figure it out. And if you can respect the relationship there, I think it's a extremely strong bond you've already built up. And I already enjoy spending time with them. I already like drinking beers with them or spending time outside of work. So why wouldn't I want to spend time with them all the time if I can, right? So that's kind of my take on friends and family. There's some risk, but if you can figure it out, I think it's definitely worth it in the long run. So,
all right, getting into question 2, why did you choose to build gyms in smaller communities compared to going to a bigger city?
Sure, yeah, I feel like that's a question I get a fair amount, especially when I meet people. I sell used gym equipment a fair amount, and I always meet like other gym owners that are coming from major cities or major areas. It doesn't take much to be a major city compared to where we're at in towns of 1,200, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000. Most of the people come from, in quotations, a small town. And that means like 20,000 population, right? Which like isn't a small town where we're from. That's a huge, that's a decent sized community. So yeah, so why small towns? Why did we go that route? So growing up in a small town, Neshgoro is a town of 452 people or whatever it is, 454. Westfield Middle School is where I went. Watoma High School. I'm familiar, and I've been born and raised and grown up in towns of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people. And being in these small towns, you have to drive to a major city or major area to get the training that you need, right? I was big into sports when I was younger. And I remember we'd be going to Madison or we'd be going to Appleton, right, to get this specific sports training or to, just get what you needed out of that stuff to be a better athlete, right? And that's kind of where this stems from. And so as I was, 18, 19, 20, I was like, these small towns are so overlooked. And being from one, I want an awesome facility here. I don't want to have to drive an hour to like see the cool gym and that kind of stuff. So the first reason being small towns is like, I want to give back to small communities. I'm from a small community. Almost all of these small towns around us had no fitness facilities in them. And so I was like, you know what? I think this is a great thing to do. Like small communities, often overlooked. They're considered drive-through towns. Let's start a new hobby and a new trend of fitness in these small towns and give them something to do other than just go to the bars on a Friday or Saturday night or going out to grab a bite to eat in these local towns. So that's kind of reason number one. Born and raised in a small town. There's nothing around these small towns to do for fun. And I think giving a fitness center there also keeps kids from doing dumb shit on a Tuesday night, Thursday night. They can go to the gym. They can better themselves. It's going to help local sport programs. It's going to help the longevity of these towns long time down the road, 30, 40, 50 years from now after these gyms have been here, assuming they stand the test of time. It'll change kind of the course of health and fitness in these small towns, which is super exciting too, because the long-term effect, people living longer, healthier, happier lives because of this community fitness center. Like that's a cool thing too. So that's kind of number one. Number two is the fact that they are overlooked. There isn't really any competition in these small towns necessarily, right? Like for what we do and the niche equipment we do, I don't really consider there to be a lot of competition if we open the gym in Oshkosh or Appleton or some major city. I would consider our Grizzly Fitness to be a niche, like style of fitness center, and it would draw its own people who want to work out there. But just talking about other gyms in the areas, CrossFit gyms, the Planets, the Anytimes, the YMCAs, and that kind of stuff, they don't have those in small towns, so we don't have to deal with that either. Like we're the primary gym that people are going to come and use. We pride ourselves on community-based, strong communities, community-based gym. We got the word of mouth, all that kind of stuff, right? So that's what we're about, keeping it small, keeping the community involved, finding more ways to get involved in the community, doing little stuff for the sporting programs and that. So small towns are awesome. It's where I was born and raised. I think sticking to the small towns as our niche is the best thing to do. And it's fun. Like in a small community, word spreads fast. And not that I need to be like known in small towns. I'm not like, oh, I want my face everywhere, because I've never been like that. This is the first time I've even publicly spoke really as far as this stuff goes. I don't post anything in the gym saying this is who I am. Oftentimes I like to work out and not even have people know who I am. But having a small town facility and all of a sudden a Grizzly opens and then you're at a local place somewhere and they're talking about Grizzly, they're wearing Grizzly apparel, whatever it is. That's so cool to see. That word of mouth aspect, like the little branding, like that's what people talk about. And it's just super cool to see that stuff too. So sorry I rambled on this one a little bit, but small towns, they're awesome. That's what we're about. We love the small communities. We like helping people, want to see them live longer, healthier, happier lives, better sporting programs, stronger athletes, keeping kids out of trouble, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
All right. Next question. This one's more of a podcast question. Why did we start the podcast now versus 3 years ago or 3 years from now? Why did we start in present day with the podcast?
Sure. That's a fair question. I've been reading a lot of books, and I don't know what hit me, but all of a sudden, like literally within like a week time, I wouldn't even say a week. I think it was within like a couple days. I was like, hey, we need to get podcast equipment. I'm talking to G here. I'm like, hey, we need to get some podcast equipment, and we got to get it now. And like, I want to get a decent setup because I want to have good quality content, and I want it to make me feel like I need to do this, right? So I was reading some books. I can't even remember which one I was reading at the time. And I was like, you know what? Let's start practicing podcasts. Like, I just want to get good and comfortable talking to it. And so something sparked, and I thought there's no better time than now. We should have started it years ago. We should have documented this whole journey. So I wish we would have started it earlier. I probably would have been more nervous to do this 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Just that the maturity, the wisdom aspect. Again, I still feel like I'm being 26. It's hard to talk to a platform of people and feel like I should be doing such things because even like a lot of influencers today, I feel like they're not great role models, but everybody follows and listens to them. So I don't want to come off saying things that I'm not truly educated about. So doing that even 3, 4, 5 years ago, that would have been even much harder mentally for me just because I want to know what I'm talking about and I want people to believe in me and what I'm saying and that kind of stuff. So it would have been harder to start a couple years ago. I was reading some recently. It just snapped. Within a week, we got some podcast equipment. And when we did start the podcast, our goal, or my goal, was to do 20 to 30 to 40 practice episodes where we just get together on a Tuesday night, start talking to the mic, and just feel comfortable doing it. Well, we did that like one night and just kind of screwed around with it, had a good time, made sure we could hear each other and all that kind of stuff. And then I said, you know what, Sunday, let's do some more practice episodes. We recorded an episode. I said, we have to launch it. Like, let's just make this episode 1. It was 10 minutes long and ended it abruptly. That was our first practice episode, our first real practice episode. But I said, you know what? If we don't post it, we're not going to continue. We're not going to get there. So we just need to do this, right? So that's kind of that pushed us over the ledge to actually do this. It's good for us doing it right now instead of 3 years from now or 3 years ago, because now is a better time than ever. Again, we should have started 3 years ago, but now is the next best time to start this than waiting. Because one, we need to practice. We need to get good at this. We need to find our groove in how to talk to each other, how to have a conversation, how a podcast functions. Every day that goes by and you're not doing it, we're not learning anything. We're not kind of moving in the right direction. 2, I feel like our brand needs more of the story and understanding of why we're here and to build a better brand and to build a better business. I feel like it's important to have a podcast. It's a huge thing right now. But it's also an easy way to get good, valuable content. And again, the story, the mentality, all of the things we want to do with this podcast, I feel like are extremely important to our small community brands. The more people in our small towns that know and understand our story and can relate to it or talk about it, like it's just going to benefit the whole aspect, right? So again, starting now is better than never. And so again, 3 years from now would be even worse because I feel like there's so many things that are going to happen in the next 3 years that we have to document and get out there. And if we can document them real time instead of talking 7 years ago, this happened, and 5 years ago, this happened. If we can just talk about it when it happens, the same week it happens, like it's going to be a lot better story. It's going to be fresh. It's going to be super cool. So even if this podcast doesn't amount to anything huge, I'm excited to have all of this stuff documented, right? Like this is what it was like when we first started. This is where we're at now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. 3 months from now, it'll be really exciting to see where we started, where we're going, and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's basically why we started now. I was reading a book, something hit me, ordered podcast equipment. Within a week, we started doing something, and I said, you know what? Now's the best time. Let's launch this podcast. Let's do it. Let's just start talking to people. I don't even think most of our staff knew we were doing a podcast. I don't think any of our gym members knew it was happening. We literally recorded an episode on like a Sunday and said, post it, figured it out by Tuesday, and that's where we're at. That's where we're at now. So anyways, hopefully that answers the question.
Love it. All right, now the final question is going to be on the apparel side of things. How did that start out, and what does that entail now?
Sure. So the apparel's kind of funny. I know we talked a little bit about it in like our story episodes 1 through 4. I don't know how much we talked about it, but a background on what this individual is asking, the apparel aspect, for those of you who know absolutely nothing, we'll just kind of start from scratch. We make our own apparel for Grizzly Fitness. That being said, we order blank t-shirts in. We screen press them with one color, like one water-based, we only do single colors, so we do like all white ink, all black ink. My mom has actually made several of our logos. She's good at like graphic design and throws some stuff together, so she's made a lot of our designs. So we make and press all of our apparel to this day. So any apparel that you buy in stores at any of our Grizzly locations is apparel that we've personally made in-house. So back and all the way up to 2016, I started Priority Athlete. And when we started that, we the way we started branding ourselves, other than doing online workout programs, is we actually started selling apparel. At the time, we didn't make our own apparel then. This is the only time we never actually made our own apparel. We would order it offline, like, I don't know if it was like 4imprint or, I don't know, Vistaprint, stuff like that. We would upload our logo and sell some t-shirts, and we'd be paying we'd be paying $13 a t-shirt and selling them for $15 type stuff, right? Like, we weren't making any money, but it was like, oh, we're starting this brand, buy our shirts. So our friends and family back home, at the time I was out in Colorado, our friends and family back home were buying this apparel. So fast forward to moving home and eventually opening my first little studio, I still had to make this apparel for Priority Athlete because we still had people interested. Like, hey, Colton, I want a t-shirt. I want it. And my mom goes, hey, I have this like press thing that we can make our own apparel. I don't really know a lot about it, but why don't we look into it? I'm like, all right, cool. So then, like, again, this is all in the beginning of time. We don't really have a fitness facility. We have a little one, but we start making our own apparel, start printing our own apparel. And now we're getting t-shirts for like $3, $4, $5, and we can sell them for $10. Customers happy. It's a cheap t-shirt. We're happy. We made more money than we used to. And so we actually started making our own apparel back then. And it was really cool. That little business, part of the business, actually really helped fund getting some of the early on gym equipment. I mean, we made an extra $1,000 to $2,000 off our original $3,000 like starting. We started with $3,000 back when I was 19. That apparel actually helped fund an extra $1,000 or $2,000 at the time, and actually helped us like buy our rubber flooring, buy our dumbbells, or buy our squat racks. Like, that was actually a very, without that, it would have been a lot harder to start back up when I was 18, 19. So anyways, we've always done our own apparel basically since that time. And we've continued on with that tradition. We like the flexibility in being able to make our own make our own apparel. It's cool, it makes it more like special that we're making our own stuff, I feel like. So I feel like it connects better with our brand, small community, niche. They even make their own apparel. So that's super cool, right? And so I was the original one making all of our apparel back then as well. So another story, my mom and I were like, hey, we kind of know what we're doing. Why don't we go to this class? We drove down to Chicago or North Chicago, learned how to make all of our own apparel there. We took a class. They're teaching us all these fancy techniques on how to print t-shirts and how to use water-based ink versus plastisol and all this other stuff. And so it was all great. It was great knowledge. We went back to just doing our water-based ink, one screen, one colors to keep it easy. But yeah, that's how we started. We started doing apparel, and that was actually probably like our only moneymaker in the beginning before I had any other job. Was like, hey, we'd make $500 a month on apparel. So I made it all back then for the first, 3-4 years probably. I was making most of it. I think my mom was also helping making some of it. We've had 2 or 3 other people attempt to or help us make the apparel. It just never works out, or it's not consistent enough work, because it's like, hey, this week we need to make 500 shirts, and then it's like no work for a couple weeks until we order more. So moving forward, we're really hoping to, and I'm telling you this for our current gym members, we really intend on getting back into the apparel. Back then it was really fun, special ordering apparel for our gym members and that kind of stuff. And lately we've just been kind of slacking. We've been doing like some basic stuff, but we're going to get back into some really cool apparel, some new logos, special drop stuff. And currently Ellie, our project manager, our GM, our gym manager, she's actually printing all of our apparel. She'll come in 1 day a week, not work on like general gym stuff, and she'll just go print apparel as much as she can. And like that's what we've been throwing out on the shelves and stuff. So it's working good for right now. It gets more complicated the more gyms you've got moving, because it's like when I order a gray t-shirt, how many do I order now? We've got 6 locations. How many should we be putting out at every location? It's a little bit more difficult than it used to be, but it's a lot of fun. We intend on to continue doing it. We want to start doing some more special stuff. Sweatpants, crew necks, we just launched a bunch of colors in that. So yeah, hopefully that answers the apparel question. It's a lot of fun. We're going to continue doing it, continue building on that. If you have any special requests for apparel, we can take those as well. So feel free to give us a shout out there too. So, yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to kind of give to you guys. So the one thing I'll leave off with here before we end, today was just kind of a fun little episode, trying to do some Q&A stuff. We really appreciate the questions, and we'd like more questions coming in, because we're just, again, this is a practice state for us. We appreciate the listeners kind of hopping on and hopping off. The more questions you can give us or topics you'd like to know helps us with these episodes. But the one thing I will say before we wrap her up, going off of the last couple episodes in the mentality aspect, the best way to win an argument, or the best way to go about an argument, the first answer is don't have an argument. Avoid arguments at all costs. You're not going to get anywhere by having an argument. There's no winning an argument. So that being said, there's no winning an argument. Whether you win the argument, you probably pissed off your friend. His ego's hurt or her ego's hurt. They still believe they're right. And so there's really no winning there, right? I'm sure a lot of yes, as far as arguing goes, try to avoid arguments at all costs is kind of my 2 cents. Talk about it logically, understand where the other individual's coming from, get on the same level with him or her, and agree to disagree is always okay. But again, avoid arguments at all costs. And if you get in an argument, try to de-escalate, understand where they're coming from, get on even ground, and try to move on from that as good as you can. I've been trying to kind of learn a little bit more about the arguments and the psychology and the conversations with individuals, and there's really no winning an argument. Whether you win the argument or you lose the argument, somebody's upset, somebody's pissed off. It probably wasn't worth it. You're probably arguing about something dumb anyways. Just move on, apologize, keep going. So that's my tip of the day. Avoid arguments at all costs. You don't need to be right. It's okay. Move on. That being said, we appreciate you guys in today's episode. If you want to follow me, Snapchat is colton.burt, COLTON, BURT. Instagram is coltonburt19, and Facebook, just search me. Otherwise, my username there is also coltonburt19. Again, today was episode 8 of many. We've got a lot more coming. We're going to keep pushing for 2 a week. I believe that statistic I gave you earlier on with only 7 podcasts. The average podcast only makes it 7 episodes. I believe it was, let me pull up the statistic here real quick, because this is actually rather interesting. So the average podcast never makes it past episode 7. It's called the pod fade. 75% of podcasts stop producing content before episode 10. Only about 20% of podcasts make it past 20 episodes, and a tiny percentage make it to 100 plus episodes. That being said, we have every intention, and I'm saying this here now because I need to stick to it, is we're going to produce 2 episodes a day, 2 episodes a week. That is goal number 1. We are going to get to that 100 episodes mark. I have there's no doubt in my mind we go over 100 episodes. So again, these early on episodes are practice, and I appreciate you guys listening, but I thought those were kind of fun little insights on the podcast episodes and that kind of stuff. It's interesting. Everybody wants to start a podcast. You talk to somebody, I've always wanted to start a podcast. Just do it. Go practice. Post it. You can even post it to YouTube private, not let anybody listen, but go out there, record something, post it to private so nobody can listen to it, and just get your reps in. If you have any questions about starting a podcast, hit us up. We don't know what we're doing, but sure, we can talk about it. So anyways, appreciate you guys listening. This is Tuesday's episode. We'll see you guys Thursday. Thank you so much. Have a good one.